you don't want to screw this call up. I mean, your progeny are going to hate you if you knew about this and you didn't buy it. I mean, they're just going to absolutely hate you, and they're gonna think you're a legend if you, sacrificed and sacrificed, didn't buy that expensive car and bought a whole coin instead, because that whole coin is going to be worth 10 million bucks.
Crypto fam, that was Larry Lepard telling you why you need to be buying Bitcoin right now. We're going to be checking out a recent interview that he did, and he's talking about where he sees Bitcoin going, why you should be getting into Bitcoin now, why some people think that Bitcoin is too expensive and they won't buy because the price is too high now, but he's talking about why you should be buying at these prices and some other things in today's video. I recommend you guys watch this one to the end. If you don't know who Larry Lepard is, he's a managing partner at Equity Management Associates. He is a graduate from Harvard Business School, and he's been talking about Bitcoin over the past couple of years or so. And in today's video, he's telling you a little bit about his story, along with some advice he gives to people when investing into Bitcoin and crypto. Like I said, I highly recommend you guys watch this one all the way to the end. If you want to check out the Bitcoin Bros Patreon, that will be in the comment section below. We have exclusive content that comes out over there, along with our trade ideas and other useful, beneficial information when investing in the crypto space. So check that out if you guys want to. Let's go ahead and get into today's clip.
Why I'm so confident about Bitcoin and how I missed. Let me tell you. Let me give you some of my basic things about venture capital business, what I learned. Probably when I talk to new people going to the venture capital business, one of the things I say to them is, look, the major thing that you want to look for in the venture capital business is Gene Kleiner was the guy who told me this, or told it, not me, but he told it to, people. He wrote about it, is what he called dogs eating the food. You want to look for, something that is being used and there are more people using it every day. Okay, you want to look for obvious growth trends, and if you see an obvious growth trend, then you can extrapolate it out and say, if something is growing, all other things being equal, it's going to continue to grow. So I'm not going to make the mistake, a third time. So when I saw Bitcoin and I realized what it was a network of money, and it was growing, steadily and exponentially, and that everyone needs money. And that it is, truly the best form of sound money. I mean, as Saylor and Preston have said recently, there's no deflection in it. There's just 21 million of them, and that's it. It's just, to me, it's such an obvious, clear bet. And you said price predictions. I mean, I have no idea where it's going tomorrow, or I don't know where it's going to be at the end of the year. Although I mean, I'm guessing maybe 100K or something, but. I'm absolutely certain this is going to be 200K, and then someday it's going to be 1 million, someday it's going to be 2 million, someday it's going to be 8 million per coin. I'm talking that because that's just the natural progression of, the growth of a network. And so, that's why I'm pounding the table just to, and people getting into it, they think, well, I'm paying too much. I mean, I have a friend who's very, very wealthy, and, he knows my average cost is quite low. And, you just can't bear to pay 60 or 70 grand. I said, look, it doesn't matter. I mean, I paid, I don't know, whatever I paid. I mean, in the thousands for probably as an average. But, Max Kaiser was paying $2. And I, I don't regret Max. I just recognize that, someday my average cost is going to seem incredibly cheap to somebody who's paying $2 million a coin. So it's just, it's Saylor's point. I mean, it's going up forever, Laura. Either decide, you're going to buy it eventually. People don't realize that. Everybody's going to buy this eventually. I don't think anyone realizes, or I don't think a lot of people realize that. So you might as well buy it now versus waiting and having to pay a lot more for it in the future. They are never going to be able to stop printing. And this is going to be kind of a Gresham's Law sort of moment. And at that point in time, people are going to abandon the existency currency units of the dollar, and they're going to run like crazy into things that cannot be printed, gold, silver, and Bitcoin. And, to just put a point on it. I mean, some people think they're too late on Bitcoin. I mean, we're such early days. There are hundreds of trillions of dollars of financial assets in the world. I mean, there's the equity markets worldwide are estimated to be 150 trillion. The bond markets worldwide are north of 100 trillion. So just those, I mean, skip real estate, skip a lot of other stuff. That's $250 trillion. And, there's cash and currency too. It's $250 trillion of financial assets. All the gold in the world is worth about 13 trillion right now. And Bitcoin is worth about 1 trillion. So just think about it. What happens when some piece of that 250 says, "Good God, I'm getting fried here. They're gonna create so many currency units that my currency unit's gonna be really diluted. It's like watering the beer. I got to get out of here and get some kind of currency that I know they can't dilute. They're gonna that 250 is gonna come crashing into Bitcoin and gold, and so gold's gonna go to 10,000 or 20,000, and Bitcoin's gonna go to 1,000,000. I mean, that's what's happening. Now, not tomorrow, right? Because the awareness of the masses, it always takes time. But anyone who's listening to this podcast is obviously, thinking for themselves and somewhat ahead of the curve, and kind of realizes intrinsically that something is wrong. Something's wrong with the system. Something, I mean, my kids realize there's something wrong. I mean, they're in their 20s, they're doing fine, and they can't afford a house. I mean, I could afford a house in my 20s, not much of one, but I can afford a condo. They can't, and it's a function of the broken systems. Do we know how Bitcoin's going to evolve and how it's going to get used? I mean, no, we don't. But we do know that Bitcoin solves the problem of monetary debasement. And that's been a very big problem in human society for thousands of years. And so we just solved it. So, okay, I'll bet on that. I think, I'm guessing that over time, individual free-thinking humans, just like you and me and all the other people who've adopted Bitcoin, are all going to look at it and going to come to the same conclusion and go, you know what? This solves the problem of monetary debasement. I want some of that. That works. Let's use that. Why would I ever price something in fiat when I know that fiat is it's bullshit, that it can get diluted? I'm not going to get paid back in real terms. I want to get paid back in Bitcoin terms. So, yeah, it's hard for people, I think, to get their heads around that. But I think once you do, there's really no going back. All of and you could see that there were problems, but you could also see that technology was going to address them. And I think the same is true of Bitcoin today. There are problems. The layer 2 is still clunky. Not everyone knows how to set a Lightning transaction. Self-custody is clunky and hard to do. There's a lot of fraud. There are a lot of people getting ripped off. I mean, all of these problems are very big and very real, but they will all get solved because that's what people and entrepreneurs do. And so, there will be continual breakthroughs, just like in the internet. When we went from green screen to, Windows, that was an enormous breakthrough. And then we went from dial-up to broadband. That was another enormous breakthrough. And now here we are, 20, 30, 40 years later, and I'm talking to you halfway around the world real time. I mean, as recently as 10 or 15 years ago, we had to buy very expensive equipment to do video conferencing, and even then the quality sucked. And here you and I are doing it for, I don't know, what's your Zoom subscription cost you, $100 a year or something like that? Yeah, it's the same. I mean, it's the exact same model. And in my view, Bitcoin is going to do for money what the internet did for communication and information sharing. It made the New York Times irrelevant.